Welcome to the
Oh,
Grapevine Show. We
who
are
the
back.
heck are you? Who are you two?
I don't know. It's been a little while, though.
We're finally back. We're back, baby.
Yeah,
Had to be said. We're back, baby.
you know,
We're back.
it's been a little while.
Feels like that part
A
in
little
Hangover. We're in the back seat.
Yeah,
We found
a lot
Dougie.
a lot of text messages flying between us. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? It's been wild, man.
Been busy.
But
Good
it
to
is
see you,
summertime.
Eric.
It was
Yeah,
summertime.
you too. Yeah, what we started off. I had a vacation, and then Chris had baseball, and I don't know what Mike was doing. He was
Vacation,
probably
baby.
laying on a beach
Vacation.
somewhere.
I got a tan. I got rid of my iris side. Well, no, it's still there. Yeah.
You got that
man.
farmer's tan going on.
Yeah.
We're back in
Oh,
action,
man.
though. We're back.
Jason
We're back, and I feel
Johnson,
good.
Jason
Yeah.
Johnson, Rachel Kaiser, Robin Henry, all in the chat there tonight.
Oh.
Good evening, everybody.
I was going to say we took a break. Everybody's like, "What happened?" And everybody left. But I don't think so. It looks like they're coming back, baby. We're all coming back.
Right?
I remember at the beginning, we could barely get together like 1 month at a time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can make it.
Yeah,
so-
we used every excuse in the book, like, oh my God, tomorrow I got a lot to do. I think tonight's a bad night. And then we were like, we should go weekly. And then it's like, yeah, we got this. Isn't that funny how that works?
Dude,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And now
it
we missed 2 weeks, and we're like, oh my God, it felt like 2 years.
It did. It felt like, but it was kind of, I don't know about you guys, and I'm not trying to say I don't like hanging out with y'all, because I do. But the little bit of a break was just kind of nice. You know what I mean? Like, I got so much crap accomplished around the house on this window of time. But I'm going to sacrifice, right? I'm sacrificing those chores. That's what I'm telling my wife. But anyway, this is an HVAC show, so let's get to it.
All right.
Doing it for the grapevine.
That's right.
And
Eric.
and all of our faithful listeners out there, all 20 or 10 or whatever,
200,000 of you.
200,000. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness!
Last time I looked at it.
I don't know if
You
I
know.
can handle that kind of fame. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's
I
too
hear
much
you.
for me.
Eric, you
So-
have acquired, from what I understand, a guest for tonight.
I have.
So I would like you to make introductions, man. This is all in your ball court.
Mine. Holy
Yep.
cow! That's a
Handle that
again
thing.
a lot of pressure right there. I don't know,
That's
man.
right.
That's
You've
a
been gone
lot.
the longest. You've been gone the longest. So you have to do all the legwork tonight.
All right. Well, tonight we've got all the way from across town from me, Louise Kellar from UEI, and she's here. She's their national training manager, I believe. Why don't you bring her on and make sure I'm getting that right?
All
Nope.
right.
Hey,
all
there
right.
she is. National
Hello,
training
everyone.
manager for UEI.
That is correct.
And she's here to talk to us about multimeters. And I understand, and I've heard that she knows a thing or two about multimeters.
So I'm pretty pumped about this one. And the reason I'll tell you this is because although I've used a multimeter like all of my life, I've never deep dived into multimeters. You know what I mean? So I've got some questions, but I'll wait till we get into it.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stupid questions too.
Yeah.
I may or may
I
not
think we
have
can
stupid
all-
answers back for you, just so you know.
Yeah.
Louise has become a good friend of Rachel and mine, and she's an awesome human being and a great educator. So welcome to the show, Louise. If you've seen the show before, I can't believe you decided to come on, but here you are.
Yeah, well, I only committed for one time. Another time, I don't know. Well, we'll see how this round goes.
I hear you. It's like SNL, man. You got to earn your way to the 5-show special. You know what I mean? You ever,
Oh, if
have
I
you
get
seen
that,
those?
do I get a jacket? Do I
You
get
might,
a jacket
yeah.
at
You
the end
might.
of it? If we could,
I
come
mean,
up
the
with
show
mine?
is the
A
show
bleeding
goes on
purple
screen.
jacket.
We don't even have jackets. I don't know what.
No, but I did get this. This is something new. Check this out. Bam! Look at that.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
My 8-year-old daughter painted that on the painting.
In New York, they call that graffiti.
Yeah,
Did an awesome job. That looks
she did, man.
fantastic.
She did. I was like, I need a Grapevine logo. She was bored and school's out, and I was like, hey, why don't you paint something on this?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And now we got it. So
Now we know who the artist is in your family.
that's right. Louise, if you would, I would like to hear you take us through your background. Like, how did you end up in your current role? Like, where did you start and how did you get to where you are? Tell us that. Tell us the history.
So my background was nothing in the HVAC world. I actually came from retail management, and optical right before I came to UEI, and an opportunity presented itself. But when we moved, they had moved a facility here to Indianapolis, and I applied for the job. And lo and behold, I started working in our customer service. I've done a whole lot of different functions over probably the last 7-ish years. I was actually on the sales side of things. I was doing a lot of the central region was the area that I covered for us. During my time during the central region, there was a lot of requests about training and could I train on, and I started out doing trainings for like dangers of CO and combustion analysis is what I started with in the central region, and it started becoming more and more and more popular. And a lot of the trainings I had created were to actually help me educate me on the HVAC world, because I've only been, it'll be 9 years in July. So there is a lot of stuff in this industry to learn. And so I was creating content for myself. I was creating content that wound up getting spread internally. And then at the beginning of this year, they decided to create a full-time training position, which I happily accepted and am thoroughly enjoying. So,
Congratulations. That sounds like an awesome job.
Yeah, I've been loving it. You know, the training world is it's a special place. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's, you know, you get to see a lot of the same people. You get to meet new people. You get to make new friends.
Yeah.
And there's just so much to learn. It's so hard. Like, you just can't know everything in this industry.
I did my first training. I was texting the both of these guys on the way there. I'm like, whatever you guys got. And they were pumping me up. I was like, whew.
Yeah, building him up.
Good advice. Good advice.
Got this.
Yeah, and it's addictive. I love it now.
Oh, it's a great place to be. I'm so happy and thrilled to be here. Although I don't know what it is with all of you guys who like to do late nights on Sunday. Like 8 p.m. on a Sunday is like
weird dudes
hour for me, right? Like,
yeah, it's weird. It's I think we came up with this time because me and Eric have to travel a lot, and so we felt like Sunday afternoons would be the most optimal time where we'd actually be home. And even then, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's some weekends it's like, yeah, we're just not here.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other issue was, it was like we started looking at 8 other HVAC shows, and every other night of the week was taken.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can do Sunday nights, or pretty much we're going to overlap with somebody. So here we are.
Yeah.
It's okay. I drank my coffee today early enough that I should be good to go. I shouldn't fall asleep in the middle of it. So we should be good to go.
Don't worry, if you do, we'll just fire Michael up and he'll just start telling jokes and we don't know where it'll go.
Yeah, too many Red Bulls.
All right, Mike, let's get off to your dumb questions so I can ask my intelligent questions.
Oh man. Like yeah, that was a pretty that was
I'm
a
sorry,
good
bro.
kick in the butt right there.
That was insensitive.
I did say it though. I did say it.
Yeah.
That's a low blow still.
Like
He's going right for the kneecaps at the start.
Right? Like, oh. And we've talked about it before, but I mean, RMS is always like, what the heck's RMS? And then another stupid question is, everybody says high voltage on AC unit. I mean, you could look at the nameplate. Anything over 250 is too high. Do you have anything to say about that?
All right.
First
Well,
off,
so yeah, go ahead.
RMS is not a dumb question, but I just want to say
I'm going to second that statement right there.
I feel like we beat it up, so much.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Sorry, Louise. Continue.
Hey, this is what we do, right? So RMS. There's 2 types of meters that are out there on the market, basically. One is just what is the average sensing, or the RMS. And then there's the other version, which is true RMS.
Okay.
And so the easiest way to visualize it is if everything is working properly, you would have a nice even sine wave that would go up and down. And an
Right.
average sensing meter only takes a reading every however milliseconds in there. And so it averages. But what winds up happening is the equipment that we're using, it doesn't go in a nice even sine wave. So an average sensing meter, you don't know whether it's taking it at the top or the bottom of the sine wave, where
Right.
a true RMS meter actually kind of slows it down a little bit when it's inputting the signal into the meter. And
Okay.
it'll show you where you get those little blips when it happens above and below that sine wave. So a true RMS meter is going to be much more accurate for you.
Okay.
You can, and you'll see that especially with a lot of like the inverter technologies and things like that. You'll start seeing an average sensing meter can read, I think, 20 to 40% off of what a true RMS meter would mean.
And that's when we're measuring just voltage for AC or for DC's flat line, right?
So I was going to see if I could find you a little diagram that I have here for you.
And for people who have never heard of RMS, Louise, will you give them the definition? Like RMS, if its root means squared, right?
Correct. And there's like a whole formula that goes into how that's calculated when it's taking the reading. I'll be honest, I don't remember what exactly that formula is.
There's a ton of math involved. Just go with it.
Yeah.
This is why we have meters, right? This is why we have
Trust
the meters
us.
that
Yeah.
do this for us.
Right.
Yeah.
We want that meter to do the math for us, right? It's kind of like gauges bringing in something and doing the math on superheat and subcooling.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? Why wouldn't we let something else do that math for us every day?
Good point. Exactly.
The way I understand it, and I very loosely understand it, but I would say when you have a meter that doesn't read RMS, you have, let's just say you have one sine wave, and then a regular meter is going to give you the average of that one sine wave. But then if you have a true RMS meter, it's going to break that sine wave up into little chunks, and it's going to find the root square of each one of those, and then average them all together, which is the mean, right? Mean means the average. So it's the root square mean of the sine wave. So it's like a statistical average versus what's the word for a basic average? I can't remember the name
Just
of it.
an average.
There's an average, and then there's a root mean square average, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right,
It's like
because you
more
got a
granular.
positive and negative sine wave, right?
Right.
Well, but
So-
the thing is, so that a lot of times the inverter units don't have that smooth sine wave like we get the
Right.
60 cycle
Yep.
sine wave. They might have square waves. They might have, peaking
funky.
waves. They might have spikes in that wave. It's
Yeah.
really weird looking when you look at it.
I've seen the square wave a lot on a lot of the manuals.
Yeah.
They cap it, which
Yeah.
is nice. It doesn't spike. So, and that's just for voltage, just checking voltage. RMS is, right?
True. So it's true RMS is what it's
True-
called.
True
True
RMS.
RMS.
It's just
And
for
it's
checking your
for-
voltage.
It's for amperage.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all
Sure.
about watts.
AC.
Yeah.
AC.
Well, it's for amperage. Watts.
Yeah.
Watts is something different.
I know. we're
Watts is a whole nother ball game right there.
we
What?
went I feel like we went as deep as we could possibly go in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
And those are my
pretty much-
those are my
Well,
dumb
it was a great
questions.
show, guys. I'm
Yeah.
out. Like,
Have a good one, guys.
Yeah.
you guys came back. We're going to ease you back in from vacation
Yeah.
real easily. All right.
Let's circle back. Start at the beginning. What was that second question you had, Mike?
Shoot, what was it?
Oh man,
Yeah,
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we really went
Oh,
off
yeah.
high diving into
What-
the deep
what's,
end on that
yeah,
one.
we did. High
So
voltage.
what's for a maintenance technician, a basic guy doing maintenance who just checks voltage? What is what's something that goes, hey, the voltage in this house is a little high, 250, 260, and then shoot, what's low, 208?
Well, that depends on the equipment rating.
Right. So
I
I
think
think
he's
that,
I think he's saying a basic condensing unit or something. Like
let
if
me get a
it's,
condenser.
you know,
I just took a picture of a condenser like 2 hours ago. So let me see
I
what
mean,
it says
that
on
that
there.
entirely depends on what's on that rating plate, and then the meter's going to read the voltage, whatever the voltage is.
Right. So I'm saying like, all right. So it says 208, 230. Here's a nameplate.
But you've got a min and a max voltage on there. So what's your min
Right.
and your max? You're just looking at the nominal rating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 208 is a nominal 3-phase, 230 is nominal single-phase voltage.
Okay.
But you can have 233 phase as well, but normally
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole nameplate, the whole sticker.
so is that a 3-phase or a single-phase unit? Or you
That's a
got
regular
208?
residential 2-phase.
Okay, so you've got what's your min and max voltage on that?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. If like a technician sitting at a condenser looking at this sticker, is 240 volts, 250 volts too high? You know, what do you? What would be a good?
I don't see it on the tag.
Yeah,
I don't see
I'm
it
not
either.
quite sure I follow what you're
So
saying.
that is, Michael, that's not going to be determined by a meter. That's determined by the rating on the equipment.
Yeah, that would be it. Whatever
I
your
think-
max is on the nameplate.
I think what Michael's asking though is if you're reading voltage and you're reading low voltage, at what point should you throw your hands up and be like, "Whoa, this is too low for like
That
a
entire
condensing-" No,
And
I
at
get
what
it.
point is it
depends on
too
the
high?
nameplate.
And what point is it too high for an appliance?
Let's say
I guess I really had some not stupid questions. I guess.
No, but I will tell you, I'm going to actually defer to everyone on here because I'll be honest. I make the meters that tell you what the voltage is that you're reading. I don't tell you what your reading should
Yep.
be.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Eric. Yeah, certain units are probably not rated for high voltages, and it should be right on the plate. I don't know why Train didn't write that on there.
Yeah,
That
and
is a
it's
trip.
some units are not going to have that on there, especially if that's just like a single stage unit.
Yeah.
It's not as sensitive to high and low voltage as say an inverter unit or something with a lot of electronics in it.
Right. Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense.
So on that unit, it's probably plus or minus 10% of the rated voltage. So like if
oh
you're
wow!
at-
So look at the air handler on this random model number. It does have a min and a max. Yeah.
yeah,
I never
So
really paid attention to that.
253 and 197, but that's probably got an
Yeah.
electronic board in it,
Ah, yeah. Let me see what job this was.
right? And the flip
Nope,
side
I don't
of that,
remember.
the flip side of that too is you also have to make sure your transformers tap properly for whatever voltage you're working with.
Right. So if you're on the beach side and they got only 208, we had to step those transformers down. Yeah.
Yep. Well,
Yep.
actually, you're stepping them up,
Stepping them up.
right? Because you've only got 208 coming in, you still want 24 coming out, or 24 plus, and 26, 27 coming out of it.
Yeah. So that was pretty common on the beachside jobs we had to run into. So
So I once
that's
once
all I got
heard-
for questions.
I once heard from me and a technician were talking, and this guy was knowledgeable about power plants and stuff, and he was telling me about how when you have a house that's really close to the power plant, and then you have a house that's really far away from the distribution of the power plant, that voltage could be high right out the gate, and then they have to carry it all the way to that last house, so it may come out a little high, and then it gets down to maybe down to the low 200s, maybe even 199 or something like that. But that first house may be at 250 something. Does that sound like hogwash, like not truth, or is there truth to that? I don't know.
Well, that's going to depend on transformer tapping and the length of the line, because you do have voltage drop over the length of lines, but that's not that, like the meter's just going to read that. That's not what we're here to talk to Louise about.
Louise, you don't know about transmission power? Come on.
Well, I mean, there are, but that's still again not my specialty.
Absolutely.
So,
All right, I've got a meter question for you.
All right.
Here we go. Here's something I have not put a lot of thought behind. When do I send my meter in for calibration?
Ooh,
because
that's a good
I've had my
question.
voltmeter. I've had voltmeter like I have a voltmeter. I have a couple voltmeters. I have never sent one in for calibration. Should that be something people do? Should they not do? And if they don't, how should they know when to send them in? Like, should they check it against a source of truth?
She's
I'd
gonna
like to
tell you to
hear.
buy a brand new one every 2 years.
No, I want to hear the spill. Like, what you know? What do you
Eric's gonna
guys
say the
recommend
same
for
thing.
that? Yeah.
Every 2 years. It's a throwaway society. Next
What are
question.
you talking about? Like 6 months? Like, why
Oh,
would
yeah.
we-
6
like,
months.
Come on,
When-
like Eric and I are about 6 months. You know,
These two-
Definitely 6
get a
months.
new one.
Yeah, these two need a bonus. Let's go. Next question.
I mean, 2 weeks. You might as well just order one every Monday.
Auto pay.
An auto order system.
Yeah. I think
I
TrueTech's
feel
got
like
something like
there
that.
could be something into that, especially when you get to some of the other products like pocket thermometers. Like, we'll just sell you one every 2 weeks because you left it in the ductwork. Okay.
Oh man,
Used to
I've
that.
got so many of those. Oh man,
I mean,
but that's
sooner or-
that's a darn good question. Like, when should you turn the meter in? Like, I had a meter for like 8 years. I babied it. It was like, come on, we're gonna go to a call. You know, that's a good question because like
Yeah, I
after
have
8 years,
good questions. We won't talk about those questions. No, but seriously, like, is there, what if you're out there measuring voltage and you're measuring voltage that's actually 212 and you're measuring 230? What if you think that's okay and you don't know? Like, how
that
would you
happened.
know?
That happened to me. Every time my battery got low on my old field piece, it would measure
Yeah.
the voltage way off.
Yeah, and that's actually a thing though that I talk about a lot in my presentations is making sure that you change your batteries and you make sure that you're testing and checking your test leads. Those are the
Okay.
number 1 and 2 reasons that somebody's meter winds up not functioning. Now, that being said, like with combustion analyzers, there's a very definitive answer to that. They should be serviced every single year. With
Okay.
a meter, it's not as definitive. I always recommend checking the batteries, checking your test leads, replacing those pretty regularly. If you feel that you are uncertain about your meter, you can always send it into the manufacturer and we will recertify it for you. But as far as it's not the same as some of the other products because the calibration, we're going to test it against our calibrators that are in our ISO lab.
Yeah. Nobody dies at 250 volts at the condenser.
No,
Carbon monoxide.
no.
Well,
I want to add a caveat to that. And the caveat to that is unless you're working in an environment that requires periodic certification.
Right.
But the manufacturers don't specify that certification because there are some locations that require a periodic certification for meters for safety reasons.
yeah. And if you work in one of those locations, do know that our lab, by the way, at UEI is actually, it's NIST certified. So there's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. There is
that's
actually
cool.
like a certification that we can do on any of our UEI products at our lab in Indianapolis.
That's awesome. What,
Yeah.
what do you got? You guys carry like everything, carbon. You guys got the combustion analyzers. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's cool.
CO detectors, carbon monoxide, clamp meters, obviously, for today, we're talking about those. Manometers, temperature, refrigeration gauges, all of those. So pretty much everything that's going to be in that HVAC portable test instruments is in our wheelhouse.
Awesome. You guys come up with any wireless probes for refrigeration?
In fact, we do have a wireless probes for our refrigeration.
Oh, cool.
We have 3 different versions. I know it was not that long ago. I think Eric did a really nice unboxing video of it, but it's called our Hub series. They're wireless probes that have, they're pretty cool. They have on the pressure probes, it's 180-degree swivel with a charging port built in right for you. It comes with the wireless pipe clamps, and it also comes with, if you get the 6, it comes with hygrometer probes that fit really nicely in the ductwork. And if you go to the 8, it adds a vacuum gauge and a third outdoor temperature sensor. So when you're doing your target superheat, it'll calculate that for you in the app.
Oh, wow. Oh, so outdoor temp sensor is locked in with what now?
Say that again.
You said outdoor temp sensor was on a manifold or something like that?
No, it's all wireless,
Okay.
all individual
Yeah.
individual probes, but it'll help you calculate out that target superheat.
Oh, yeah.
Third outdoor temperature probe.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I hated when I started with the wireless probe game. I didn't have the outdoor temp sensor, so yeah, it's really important to have that outdoor temp sensor, especially when like the heat's coming through. And
Oh yeah.
but yeah, you guys had the ones with a nice little pass through. That now I'm remembering that.
Yeah.
That was nice. Yeah.
So, something, Louise, I haven't looked on that. I know this isn't multimeters, but does that also calculate approach temperature on there as well?
I'm sorry, a what?
Does does the app calculate approach temperature with that outdoor unit or with the outdoor outdoor temperature probe installed or activated?
It just does the target superheat.
Just does the target superheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm going to jump us back to me.
Nope.
How about that?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I am so. We are the rabbit hole of HVAC talk.
Well, this
Sorry.
is how it goes. But there were some important things. I've had a lot of conversation over the last couple months with Eric in regards to meters and kind of talking about some of the modern meters. And I know we were both at HVAC Excellence earlier this year, and one of the presentations I did was actually modern meters for modern technology, because
cool.
I can't tell you how many times you're out there and you're talking to somebody and they'll tell you things like they still really love their analog meter.
Really?
And that actually that actually goes back to your earlier question when you were asking about like true RMS. Yeah. And the reason that people liked the analog meter was because they were to actually see their needle move when they were in a situation where they weren't getting a consistent sine wave.
Wow. Were you guys at like a retirement community for HVAC guys?
No, you'd be
sorry, Eric. Sorry, Eric.
Wait. Give me my
it's got it right there.
I got my Simpson.
We're getting up there, Eric. We're getting up there.
Mike, hold dead hands.
Yeah. Give me my analog.
Yeah. But that was part of the reason that people still really liked analog, was that they were able to see what was happening in real time. And even though they weren't necessarily being able to see the numbers, they were able to see that needle spike. So that's
cool.
why true RMS meters are really important. And it helped because when clamp meters first came out, they were all average sensing. So you had this, well, it's not as accurate as what, Eric was just pulling up, because they couldn't see the needle move.
Well,
so
it's actually technically more accurate, but you can't see that needle move because the display digits would change too fast for our eyes to comprehend. To track.
You don't have super eyes?
Yeah.
No. They're not that good.
But that was part of my presentation, is because we're seeing our technology changing so much that the features that your meters need to have on there, and what do those symbols look like, has been kind of lost in a lot of the training. Like manufacturers of equipment will put out, oh, you need to do this testing. And then somebody's like, my meter doesn't do diode testing, or my meter doesn't have capacitance on it. And there's functionalities now that are just so much more important that meters should have on them to be a true HVAC tech.
Yeah. I could be one person who could tell you there's like quite a few things on my meter I still probably don't know what they mean. You know what I mean? I hate to admit it. Maybe I should be reading the manual all the way through, but there's always like certain settings you're like, shit, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There's like one or two spots I'm like, eh.
I skip those.
Let me go to YouTube on that one.
With that, There is. You can actually. I did one of the Did You Know episodes with Clifton from ESCO. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
literally
Clifton's
walk
awesome.
through all the symbols that are on your meter.
Oh, I bet that's
Oh,
a great
Like we walk
podcast.
through,
Yeah.
we talk about where those practical applications are. Because like I say, oh, you need to do diode testing because some of the new equipment has diode bridges. And people just, what function, what's that
yeah.
symbol? And so it's more important now than ever, and we're going to see, I think, more manufacturers probably coming out with diode testing, right? Because our systems are so much more complex, having the boards in them.
Yeah.
It's not it's
It's
not the same
crazy.
as the olden days where you didn't have any computer boards in them. Like everything has a board, and those boards are even getting more complex than what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for reference, anything with an inverter in it also has a diode bridge in it because you're taking AC and you're turning it into DC. So any one of those, you need to make sure you can test diodes with your multimeter.
What is a
So-
diode, to be exact?
It's basically like a one-way gate, right? It lets electricity pass one direction.
That's what
but
I
not the other
remember.
direction.
Yeah.
I have a question for you,
It's like
Louise.
a check valve.
Let's say you're troubleshooting. I remember when ECM motors kind of first came out; they were kind of new, and I remember like trying to find literature on those motors, and you were like looking at all the low voltage connections, and you're like, "Well, crap, is this AC low voltage? Is this DC low voltage? Is it like what is the voltage? Is it 12 volts DC, 36 volts DC? I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's like I remember in the beginning of those days, and even now, it's like manufacturers use different kind of voltage patterns to drive the motors. Well, does a meter react like I've done this, so I know I could have maybe messed up a meter if it does, but I've never had a meter fail on me from this. But let's say you flip a meter to DC and then you connect to AC. Am I damaging my meter by doing that? Or
Bro,
is
get
the
out of my
meter-
head. I did that like last week. I'm like, oh no, don't.
Yeah, and you're like, oops, I shouldn't have done that. And your meter's like, beep, 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 beep. You're like, oops, sorry, don't do that. Don't do that again. I'm wondering, like, am I causing an issue on the circuit board of that meter, like putting it to use somewhere it shouldn't be put to use? I don't know.
So in that particular, the testing on a meter, right, depends and how you're going to damage it. If you had your meter set to AC and you were measuring DC, are you going to damage your meter? Probably not. But if you have it set to something where your meter is supposed to be putting an output rather than taking an input, you very easily can damage your meter.
Oh,
So what's an
Yeah.
example of that?
Dude, I did that on
So-
my car one time.
yeah,
Not
I want
good.
to hear it. Be quiet, Michael. I want to hear
Sorry.
this.
Let me hit that mute. Where's that mute button?
I want to hear how I can make my meter last longer.
Well, I thought we agreed you were buying a new one every Monday. Is that
Oh,
not-
yeah. We got that set on auto payment with TrueTech.
Yeah.
That's right.
We got your credit card on file. It's all right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we don't.
But for the most part, your meter is going to have some built-in protections because inside your meter, there is also a board. And so there are limitations on what that meter is going to be able to take. When I was talking about some of the things that are on your meter, so there are some things where your meter is actually not just taking an input result, like when you're measuring amps, right? Like that's just taking a reading for you. When you start getting into some of the other applications, it's sending out a very small signal. And that's when you're supposed to be using your meter, and it's usually supposed to be used on applications where you're going to have the equipment actually off rather than having the equipment running. So, and most manufacturers like ours, like we put them all on the same kind of dial position. So everything that has an output, you're very specifically going to have to go to that one dial position and scroll through which functionality you want to be able to do. So like when you're doing, I have a whole list of different ones that you could be
Like when you're toning out
Yeah.
fuses, using your battery in the meter to kind of tone out a
Yeah.
fuse. That's when you don't want to be. Now, I don't know one HVAC tech who probably hasn't made this mistake. I know I've made it countless times where you're like, oops, like there's still power there, and you were, checking a fuse, hitting it with voltage. I've never killed a meter from that, but I'm really surprised I haven't killed one.
And your meter has some built-in protections in.
Yeah.
So basically, you're talking about like ohms, toning, diodes,
Correct.
capacitors, anything like that is where the meter's actually using its battery to put a small voltage or a small signal out and then get feedback.
I've got a question, and Eric, this is probably right up your alley. When you're doing microfarad testing on a capacitor with all the wires off, are you sending power from the meter to make that measurement, or is that the capacitor's literally resistance? Is that an input or an output? I guess what I'm asking.
It sounds like a Louise question to me.
Yeah. Or both of you. Either one, anybody. Somebody give it to me. Come on. Don't keep me in suspense.
Well, I will actually say that you are the first person to ask me that question.
Bam.
All the
Chris.
That may not be a compliment.
I'll let you decide. I'm just saying, like,
Good question, dude.
you are the first person to actually ask that question.
Well, I remember watching Brian Orr's thing, and he says a capacitor doesn't really it doesn't complete a circuit. It's two opposite.
So
right?
the answer is
Eric, go to Eric with this.
The answer is yes. It's putting out a signal. Like that's an output to read it's reading a response off that output.
Okay, so you're putting out a little bit of voltage, and then you're powering up one side of that capacitor, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And so
you're looking for that. You're looking for that loop. It's kind of like we'll say kind of like resistance, right? You're going to put power out and look for power back on that other side.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's but it's a signal. We'll call it a signal, whatever it is. It's putting a signal out and it's looking for that return to come back on the other side to check what that capacitor is doing or what that. And this is why we sometimes want to check you get a different reading on a loaded capacitor versus an unloaded capacitor.
Oh, talk about that. That's a good one. Come on, don't skip over that one. Let's not rush.
You're familiar with that, Louise? That calculation?
I am familiar. I don't remember exactly what it is, but yes, I am familiar with it.
Yeah, so you're reading the voltage, voltage across the capacitor terminals, and you take the amperage into the capacitor, and it's multiply. You do some math, and it's something by 2654, and I don't remember. Brian's got it on his.
I use his app for that.
Yeah, he's got it built into the app. I have a calculator built into a spreadsheet.
Damn, a spreadsheet. Everybody goes, no, thanks.
Because it's math, and you get a spreadsheet app on your phone, and I build all kinds of calculators into a spreadsheet so that it just literally scrolls down on my phone, right? Brian's got it built in right there in the app.
Yeah.
I had it built before Brian built his app, so.
Yeah, that's probably it. Under load test you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So you enter, what are you entering there?
Yeah, so.
What numbers are you entering into that?
You're doing
voltage
across the capacitor.
We can't read it to us. Read it to us.
Focus.
Yeah, read it to us.
Voltage across capacitor, amperage of motor start winding, and then capacitor rated MFD. And then you just tap that little button right there. And you know what's so funny is I've done it a bunch of times, and I always look at this diagram like every time.
Yep. This will make me sound like a hack, but I'm gonna just say it. I didn't use that a lot in the field. I used it a couple times when it first started circulating and becoming a little bit more popular, I guess. I tried it a couple times, and I started getting. I got a few results where I was like, I don't know if that's close. You know, it just didn't make me feel warm and fuzzy.
That's because you
So I
got an
went back-
old meter, bro. You need every 6 weeks, man.
So it works much better on higher rated capacitors or higher amperages, because when you get down into the really low amperages, a lot of the higher,
yeah.
you know, like the meters where it's 400 or 600 amps, the accuracy starts to get a little bit wider on those meters.
So I don't
Right.
suck, is what you're saying. Thank
But-
you. I appreciate that.
On for like a normal condenser capacitor, I used it all the time because then I don't have to pop those little terminals off and risk breaking terminals all the time.
Yeah, well, and then
See,
also you got Measure Quick on. I don't want to turn this stupid thing off to like.
That's
you know?
true. But I will say this. I hear what you're saying, but I always have my needle nose, man. I don't know. Like everybody has their way. I would always have my needle nose, and I would use the extended part of the needle nose, and I'd lay it up against the cap and pry it off. So
That's what I do.
I never broke terminals, you know, like I wouldn't just reach in there and yank straight up because I knew I was just going to break it.
Yeah.
But there, you know, you got to finesse it off of there. You know what I'm saying?
But it's still a risk of breaking it. And why spend the time? Why spend that extra time taking it off when
You
I've
can do
already
it live.
I'm already got the unit running. I'm sitting there.
Yep.
I'm doing it while I'm, you know, maybe while I'm waiting for that unit to warm up, I
Yeah.
can just take that reading and be done.
And I just started doing it the last year and a half. I don't know what happened. Just sunk
I
in.
guess I'm just setting my ways, dude. That's
Yeah.
just who I am, you know?
Yeah.
You know what? I was setting my ways too until I found it was
Yeah.
a more efficient way to do it. It took me less time to get the same job done.
Ooh.
Yeah, we should get Chris a job at TEC.
felt like-
maybe
I felt like-
you know, he can retire his meter.
Man, that felt like 2 burns in a row. Thanks, guys.
Everybody's getting kicked in the ass tonight.
Chris is out.
All right, Louise. There he came back.
Louise, can you give us a little bit of spill about what's new? Like what's new and revolutionary in your world?
Yeah, nobody's watching. Give us the real juice. It's the grapevine.
Right. I have a feeling a few people are might be watching. You know, as far as like our meters, our specific meters go, we rolled out a line a couple years ago, our 500 series, and some of those important functionalities that I was talking about on the meters are now included on all of the meters because we recognize how important they are. Because truthfully, you should be able to pick up a meter and it should have all the functionality. That was one of the things when I teach that class all about what do the symbols on my meter mean. And I've encouraged people to bring their meters with them. And I'll be like, okay, we're going to check a capacitor that we were just talking about. Their meter doesn't have capacitance. So we came out with a whole line that is all true RMS because we want you to be able to have those accurate results. We put low Z functionality in our meters. So when you're working in like tight spaces and there's a lot of wiring going on, right? You can get the ghost voltages that go on. So that helps bleed that out is
I
what
have
that
no
functionality.
I have no idea what low Z means. You're gonna have to give me one education on that one.
Basically impedance. So what it's
Okay.
going to do is it's going to bleed out any of those voltages that might be in that confined space because you get some cross voltages that'll interfere with a meter. So it basically it filters that out for you.
So that's specifically for AC voltages, correct?
Correct.
And when I'm thinking about what you're saying when impedance, where would I see this ghost voltage at? Like, are you saying if I'm like the meter's more protected from picking up impedance that's in a surrounding environment, or not impedance in the line being bled? Like when I think impedance, I think of too many conductors running in a conduit together. But that would be something I don't think you could filter out because that's just kind of part of the measurement at that point. But you're saying the surrounding room of impedance,
Like
could be a
the
problem.
surrounding, like you're working in a tight control panel,
Mhm.
for example, and you're trying to get your voltage in that tight control panel. Those wirings that wire can be so close that it'll give you ghost voltages, and you'll see it's just how it works. And so you can get some odd readings in there.
I noticed that like if I have my wire and I try to get it like right around the wire, And if I just let it hang, it changes a little bit. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I've always wondered that too.
You're talking about amperage or voltage?
He's talking
I think
about
it was
amperage.
on
Yeah,
amperage.
you're talking about amperage. So
The
we're
amp
low
Yeah.
Z or low impedances for voltage readings.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm curious about his question though, because I
Yeah.
have always wondered that myself too. It's like, why does the meter give me a different amperage when it's sitting at the clamp at top versus middle or below?
Sorry, Luis.
That's okay. So you have to look at the manufacturer. All of ours, you're supposed to have your wire right in the middle of that clamp.
Right in the middle.
So
Okay,
right,
cool.
yep, it's supposed to be. And if you look generally on the actual meter itself, it'll have like the crosshair to show you
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
where
cool.
it should be.
Hey, 22 years in this trade. Better late than never,
RTFM,
right?
man. RTFM.
Better late than never.
Yeah, so that most amp clamps have a crosshair where you supposed to align that wire in the middle of it. If you just hang it on there,
Yeah.
I hear you, but I gotta know the why. Like why does that happen? Like, what's
Magic.
the black magic, man?
You've been
All right.
listening
So,
to
my
Backstreet Boys are in sync. That's why. Tell me why.
my understanding of that is how it loads the coil that's around that clamp, right? Because that clamp has a coil. The wire generates a field on it, and if it doesn't load that coil evenly, right, with that magnetic field that it's generating on the wire,
Right. And some brands you got to blow into the amp clamp, and you got.
We can help you out with that.
every Monday we'll ship you a new meter.
We're gonna start getting you on the auto refill system.
Let me check my UPS app. Oh, I got a new UEI meter coming in. All right.
See, happy to help. Thanks,
You guys got to take a book out of Apple. Every year we got a new meter coming out. It's a bigger screen. It's got a new grip dial. I don't know how Apple does it every year, man.
I don't either.
Right.
I don't get it. It's
All right,
the same
so
phone.
but that actually goes into some of the things I talk about because everybody just thinks we make new meters just because we want to sell you something new. We want to sell you. A lot of times, though, those updates are actually generated for safety ratings, different regulations there are legitimate reasons that we have to change meters. Sometimes it is to have a nicer, fancier, setting on your meter.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it actually has to do with the fact that the new technologies, we've had to incorporate things into there. Many, many years ago, there wasn't even a thing such as a CAT rating on a meter. And people don't understand or recognize that the category rating is really important on your meter and why you need certain ratings. Like, you shouldn't be an HVAC tech using a category 2 meter because it's not rated. And yes, go for it, Chris.
A category of voltage? What's it?
We're talking hurricanes?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. When you say categories, I live in Louisiana now, and he's in Florida. We hear the word category, we're thinking run for the hills.
Where's my generator?
Yeah. So, no, I think that's a really important thing, though, to pay attention to on your meter. So there's a category rating. Okay. And so let's break it down just to kind of get an idea of what that is in the most basic terms. So category 4 is going to be basically any of the power you'd be working on from the pole to the box at your breaker box. Category 3 is from the breaker box to either the outlet or a hardwired appliance. And then category 2 is going to be from your outlet to the actual appliance. Okay. So for most of the applications, we're going to be working in category 3 is what you absolutely bare minimum need to have. But you'll look at that rating.
And having a 4, you'd be protected.
Well, so we were talking about like line transference earlier, and we were talking about, and sometimes you get those surges in a line, right? Like you should only be reading, but all of a sudden something goes up quite considerably. It's an extra protection because if you've ever watched any of the videos of somebody having a meter blow up, that is not something you want to have happen in your hands. So
Wow.
we
Yeah.
put in those extra protections, and that has to do with, new regulations. So as that progressed, those became more and more important to have those category ratings on your meters. It wasn't we just decided one day it was something we wanted to add. It's
Right.
something that had to be added. So that explains, like, and the category ratings, like, you could have a meter that is category 3 for up to 1,000 volts, but category 4 to 600 volts. So, like, you just have to look at what it is, and your clamp meter, again, so there's the crosshairs on the front of your clamp meter to show you the amps. It should also have it stated there for you, as well as what your category rating is. So those are safety protections that we put in. Those didn't exist, like, however many years ago. So
Right.
manufacturers, as manufacturers of test instruments, we have to change things because of the new regulations. And then, we have diode testing in all of our meters. We were talking about the diode bridges now that people are having to check. So there's a lot of evolution of the meters to also match the evolution of the equipment, because you guys have been in this industry for a little while. The equipment that you're working on today is not the equipment that you started in, right?
No.
Like,
Oh, no.
No. Bring
It's
it back,
crazy.
man.
This
Bring
is
it
like,
back.
if the grapevine gets stale, we're just gonna be like Mike learns HVAC.
it's what makes this industry exciting, though, is that it is constantly evolving, and there is going to be something new. The only thing that we know is that change is going to happen.
Yeah, that's
And
for
so,
sure.
but that makes it exciting, because I personally wouldn't want to be somewhere that it's just kind of on that stagnant trajectory.
Yeah,
That doesn't make my life interesting. It doesn't make the training part, like, being able to watch this evolution in the 9 years that I've been here has been pretty awesome. And I can't imagine in another 9 years what it's going to look like.
Mike, tell me if this sounds familiar. I heard category 3, and first thing that went through my brain was load the truck, be prepared to leave, but you're probably all right. And then she said category 4, and I was thinking, get the dog, get the kennel.
Yeah.
The dog's going with you. You're going to leave.
yeah,
She didn't go to category 5, but I was thinking, she says category 5, I'm just going to get off this show.
that's it.
That means get the hell out of Dodge. Your house won't be there when you get back.
Dude, when she went through all the categories, everything was just an emotional response off of my body. It was so weird.
Well, see, we're from Indiana over here. Like, we don't have those. They don't tell you a category like
Right.
5 tornadoes coming at
Yeah.
you.
Oh, you come live
Yeah.
through one. Trust me, you won't forget it.
Well, now
Well, you know what,
you're-
though? You get forewarning on what's going to happen with a hurricane. Like tornadoes, it's like, oh, the sky was clear. Oh, no, now no.
Yeah, I'm in a toilet, and then all of a sudden the shed's gone.
Hey, well, guess what, Chris and Mike? Now you got category 6 coming at you.
Really?
They're adding a new category.
Dude, I've been through a category.
man.
I've rode out a category 5, and I'm telling you, I probably wouldn't do it again. I'd be gone. Like
Well,
when you
they added a
see-
new category that's
crazy.
above category 5 because
when you see
they're getting bigger.
trees that look like they should be there for life, just go like break like a twig. You're like, that's some power, and it happened like over hundreds of miles.
I heard a choo-choo train, and I know there was no choo-choo trains present during that hurricane, but I heard it. There was one rolled through the side of my house, and I got a new roof because of that one.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh, that was
don't
scary.
even
I was
know
like,
why-
everybody
I don't
in
know
the
why I live
tub. Everybody go in the tub.
Get my meter and get in the tub.
Leave the meter. We'll sell you another one. I thought
That's-
we went over this
yeah.
already.
I got a new one on auto pay. It's coming. FEMA's going to drop it off.
Oh man,
Look at him. He's all emotional about it. It's rough. It's rough.
I was trying to.
But Chris data logged his whole pressure of his house, though. That was good data right there.
I was trying to think of the truck that I would eat. Like when after Katrina, they had the first aid truck. I can't remember who it was, what company, but like it was a ghost town in New Orleans
Yeah.
East. And I was out there working. If you've never worked in an environment where the electricity has been shut off, to the town, it's the craziest like quiet that you've ever heard. Right?
It is quiet.
There's
yeah.
no buzzing. There's no noise. There's no noise. It's freaking wild. And you're
Yeah.
out there putting air conditioners in houses because some billionaire decides he's investing, right? And so you're like, all right, we're gonna do it.
So I got a
Hey.
quick question for you, Louise, before we wind this down, because I'm sure Chris is going to hit the off button here soon, just because that's the way he is. He's like
He drops it. He does.
He's like an old man. He's got to go to bed or something. I don't know what.
I bring it.
He's smashing grapes.
What is frequency and duty cycle used for on a meter?
Oh boy, let me get my pen out.
Those are two features that they're on there on a lot of meters, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more people talking about that very soon, especially when we're working in the environments that we have now with the. See, it's almost my bedtime now.
The coffee's wearing off.
Yeah.
The coffee's wearing off on me, right? No. So hertz and frequency, especially when we're working with the converters, right? So we're talking about like converting the signal from like AC into from DC into AC and vice versa. So when it's going through those, we have to start looking at what the actual frequency is and the duty cycle. So that duty cycle is basically how often it's going through its cycle in a specific time period. And so all of that inverter technology, they have ratings on there that actually tell you what your hertz should be, and it'll also tell you what that frequency should be.
Right on the nameplate?
I don't know.
I doubt it. In the manual.
Yeah, I was going to say definitely in the manual. I think some manufacturers are putting it on the actual like motor now.
Ooh, that's cool.
But I could be wrong on that one.
That would be
So
nice.
Eric, you asked that question. What use case are you thinking about with that? Are you thinking about like checking a motor that's downstream from a drive?
Well, I mean, you can look at frequency because you can look at the frequency of just your 60 cycle line coming out of the wall. And if that ever changes, there's nothing you can do about it because that's a big problem at a power plant.
Yeah.
That's a way upstream problem that you have no control over. But coming out of the drives and things like that, like I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, but I don't know. I was curious because I see almost every meter manufacturer putting it out there. But
right.
I'm like, if they're putting it out there, there's got to be a use case for it. Where's it getting used? Why are you putting it in? Because you're probably, my guess is you're not going to put features into a meter that people don't really need to have.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so I see somebody in the comments mentioned that pulse width modulation. So that's kind of, and those are going to be in the manuals. Again, that has to do with the inverters when we're going back and forth because we're taking energy, electricity that's going one way, and now we're trying to turn it into AC power. Okay. So that's another reason that we have the hertz and the duty cycle on there for you.
Yeah. So like technical support would really love the technicians that using all those special meters right there.
I'm going to put up RJ's comment. He said off-duty cycle is for square waves where the high power is different from the low period.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Well, that's the time frame between your square waves. If you have a perfectly balanced wave, right, your on cycle and your off cycle are the same time duration.
Oh, mm-hmm. Okay.
But if they're trying to pulse a little tiny wave and then it's got a long distance between those, right? So that's pulse width.
I got you. Yeah.
So you can measure the width. Wow, that's gorgeous.
So, and that depends on like what your time frame is. Is it so many per second, so many per minute?
Right.
Things like that.
Then you could really diagnose a bad board.
Possibly.
Yeah. That's cool.
You got to know what you're looking for.
You got
to know what, like if you're looking at an input or if you're looking at an output on the board, you have to know what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because if you just go willy-nilly looking at this stuff,
Yeah.
and you don't know what it's supposed to be, I promise you, you're going to get yourself in such a deep hole going, what does all this stuff mean?
Yeah.
Where did it all go? What's going on? Why is this doing this? I don't understand. And you're going to just run yourself around in circles and confuse.
All right, guys, this is how I want to polish off this show. Louise, where does someone go to learn more?
There are a variety of reasons or places that you can go. You can search UEI test instruments on our YouTube channel. You can find us. We do different tips and things like that. If you look us up on social media with UEI test instruments, you can also reach out directly to us via our website, ueitest.com. There's a little info, and you can request, and any request or anything like that can get forwarded on to me. And if anybody's listening out there, you can email me directly as well. Louise K, so LOUISE, the letter K, at ueitest.com. And, you know, we can talk about some more of the training as well.
Yeah, we want to put a link to the ESCO video. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it was a great video, so I can make sure you guys have that link.
Yeah, can you just give us that? Because that guy, he's killing it. I really don't like that aspect of it, that he's getting real popular, but yeah, that's fine. It's all right. He's not